Palestinians at this moment are really overwhelmed with what is happening. And even if they live in the West Bank, they have loved ones, family members, friends, and colleagues who are displaced, hungry, and under threat of losing their life in Gaza at this moment. So, short of someone having a dramatic call for a ceasefire, announcing something dramatic by way of airdropping, assistance or calling for accountability for suspected war crimes being committed. It's difficult, really, to compete with the unbelievable suffering that is now transpiring in Gaza. But there was no negative coverage, and I think that contrasted with a lot of other visits from other officials is a good thing.
Senator Wong has pushed for a ceasefire during her visit, but she's also said that Israel has a right to defend itself. The foreign minister says that that's not a contradiction in her mind, but how is that being received in the Middle East?
Well, so far, the claim that what Israel is doing right now is an act of self-defense is, first of all, deeply troubling and offensive to Palestinians who are enduring the crushing assault of the Israeli military, but also contested by human rights experts and by human rights organizations who point to pervasive violations of international humanitarian law. Having said that, the call for ceasefire is important because it is part of the growing international consensus. It is one of the many ironies and disappointments of this, continuing war, that a call for a ceasefire, a call for a dialogue, has somehow turned out to be controversial. It is very difficult to understand for Palestinians, for human rights experts, that a call to end the killing can be construed as controversial. You can have, your positions towards Israel and what its rights are and are not. But some countries who continue to refuse to call for a ceasefire have really managed to offend every single Palestinian in the world. So Australia is not in that corner, but there's still a lot of work to be done in order to really reach the hearts and minds in terms of policy on what can be done to move things forward, because this is not just about the war, it's about the wider political framework of what is happening on the ground, and the fact that there needs to be a solution, an end to this deadlocked situation where Palestinians are perpetually occupied and then denied their rights, with Israel finding ways to excuse its behavior to keep them under occupation.
The head of the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees has said that he's commissioned an independent report into their operations in Gaza since meeting with Penny Wong. What does the UN mean for Palestinians, and what will this review mean? There have been obviously allegations that Hamas is exploiting UN resources.
Well, Israel has attempted to deconstruct or completely shut down UNRWA, the UN agency that is in charge of work and relief for Palestine refugees, not just in Gaza, but also in the West Bank and in countries like Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. And it has done so because it wants to get rid of the whole idea of Palestine refugees and the fact that they have rights under international law to return to the homes that they and their forefathers were expelled from by force in 1948. This wouldn't be the first international or independent probe that UNRWA commissions in order to verify and to reaffirm to its donors, to the countries around the world, including Australia, that it is doing its due diligence, that it is abiding by UN regulations. And there have, like I said, always been allegations here and there, but really, UNRWA is part of the Palestinian community. It employs thousands of Palestinians, and it serves the majority of the population in Gaza. Its work is essential, and without it, life would collapse in Gaza, especially now when the majority of the population is literally starving.
And of course, there are fears of a wider regional conflict, that those fears are increasing again now with Pakistan carrying out strikes in Iran, coupled with obviously the growing fears in the Red Sea. Are those concerns being felt in the West Bank?
Absolutely, because, when this war started, the international diplomacy, the big actors, the big boys on the scene, the Americans especially said, well, we will exert all our efforts to make sure that there's no regional spillover. Well, that hasn't gone very well, because part of it, I think, in my opinion at least, is the denial that all of these incidents are interconnected. What is happening at the Red Sea, what is happening at the border with Lebanon, the fact that there were explosions and attacks in Iran, and then Iran, had strikes on Iraq and Pakistan is retaliating. All of this basically boils down to the fact that the fires raging in Gaza have to be put out in order for tempers to calm down. This is a very tense region with a lot of unresolved issues that are very interconnected. And the fact that Palestinians are under unprecedented assault will affect all of those areas and all of those actors. And I think that realization, despite the denial of some, is pushing for more urgent pleas for an immediate ceasefire that will facilitate, relieving the humanitarian suffering, that will stop famine from spreading, that will get aid to those injured, and that will also make sure that the tensions do not boil over into an all-out war, which would be catastrophic for everybody and would have, worldwide implications on trade, on the prices of fuel, and so much more.